Kathy Hawk brings the field out onto the track for tonight's first race. Daily Double Exact and Trifecta Wagering. Number 1, Crown Time, Peekaboo. Owned by Esther Crownover, driven by Jim Daly. 2 is Noble Kelly, owned by Robert Kay and Kirk Nichols Jr. with Jack Daly. 3, Keglerette, owned by William Lambeth and Jeff Fout. 4, After the Cowboy, owned by Robert Boggs. David Miller will be aboard. 5, 46 Logs, owned by Robert Allman and Kathy Smith. Jeff Smith on the bike. 6, Blues Traveler, owned by Maple Valley Farm with Brett Elliott. 7 is Nuclear Noel, owned by Glenn Kunsley, driven by Dave Hawk. 8 is Kimmy Lee, owned by Stanley Swango and Bob Harper. 9, Bay Landa, leased by Ken Kinner. Del S. Miller will be in the sulky. 6 minutes till post time. Field for tonight's first race, in behind starter Andy Albert, 7:30, 5 minutes post time. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and pacing. The favorite After the Cowboy is out for the lead. 2 is a little bit rough between horses. Noble Kelly, here comes Crown Time, Peekaboo. As they move down the backstretch, around the front end all over again. It's After the Cowboy, a length and a half. Crown Time, Peekaboo second. Noble Kelly settles in there third. Racing fourth, Keglerette. After that, it's 46 Logs, Blues Traveler. Nuclear Noel, Kimmy Lee, and the fresh face of Bay Landa. By the opening quarter, a solid 27 3/5. Racing past the stands to the half-mile pole. After the Cowboy. Bouncing right along as the even money favorite. Crown Time, Peekaboo, the stalker in second. Noble Kelly third. Keglerette is fourth. 46 Laws, sensing the slow pace. Comes to the outside with Nuclear Noel. As they move around the paddock turn, head of the half-mile pole. Blues Traveler now slipping through along the pylons. After that, it's Kimmy Lee and Bay Landa. They're at the half in 57 4. They're out of the turn and down the backstretch. Noble Kelly first over again tonight. After the Cowboy fighting back. After the Cowboy, Noble Kelly right alongside the big mare Crown Time, Peekaboo. Gaining steadily back in the pocket from third. Keglerette live cover, wired and driving, Nuclear Noel. 46 Logs is now locked in forever. Ranging up on the far outside, Kimmy Lee, Bay Landa. Blues Traveler can't go on, 127 around the far turn. After the Cowboy will bring him on home. After the Cowboy by 2, Crown Time, Peekaboo second, 46 Logs. Continues a steady gain on the pylons. Third up on the far outside, Nuclear Noel. Moving through the stretch, it's After the Cowboy, Crown Time, Peekaboo. No catch in this one tonight. It's After the Cowboy, Crown Time, Peekaboo, 9, Bay Landa up third. Here comes the field for tonight's second race, Exact and Trifecta Wagering. Number 1 Over Cami, owned by Danny Jordan. Alan Anderson drives. 2 Most Becoming, owned by William Kale, and a driver change to Jody Essig. 3 Kohler Practice, owned by Thomas Stubbs, and the drivers Ty Van Roden. 4 Linda's Darling, owned by Doris Griffith. Brad Hanner's aboard. 5 Poseidon Has Been Scratched. 6 Spring Bouquet, owned by Robert Miller, driven by David Miller. 7 is Florida Trip, owned and driven by Mike Lowe. 8 is French Kiss DJ, owned by John LeGros with Jim Lewis. 9 Miss the Message, owned by Charles Swigert with Keith Haynes. 10 Secret Action, owned by Kathy Smith. Warren Holland, Jeff Smith will be in the sulky. Trotters for the second race, post time in 6 minutes. Field for tonight's second race at the gate and moving through the turn. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and trotting. 7 Florida Trip is off stride. Also off stride the 4 Linda's Darling, circling wide for command. French Kiss DJ. Toward the rail, Most Becoming moves in to be second. Kohler Practice wide and driving third. Over Cami gets away in fourth. The favorite Spring Bouquet fifth. Here comes Miss the Message in sixth. Linda's Darling back down trotting seventh. Secret Action was off stride in eighth. Far back to Florida Trip. 7 are on gate to the quarter-mile pole in a soft 30 and 2/5. Racing past the stands to the half-mile pole. Leading the way, it's French Kiss DJ, a length and a half. Most Becoming has become second. After that, it's Kohler Practice third. Spring Bouquet with a rush on the outside fourth. Over Cami underway, Missed the Message, followed by Linda's Darling, Secret Action, and Florida Trip as the action now brews from mid-pack in the form of Spring Bouquet, who is being hustled up on the outside, a challenge leader, French Kiss DJ. And they're at the half-mile pole in 102 and 1. They're out of the turn and down the backstretch. French Kiss DJ continues to lead the way. Spring Bouquet grinding on the outside, second. Most Becoming skimming the pylons in third. Missed the Message up on the outside, fourth. Kohler Practice fifth. Linda's Darling will have to come from the back. Further out comes Florida Trip. In between horses, Secret Action and Over Cami on the rail as they trot to 3/4. 131 and 4, stepped off by the trot setter, French Kiss DJ. Spring Bouquet now looking her right in the eye second. Here's Most Becoming ranging up on the outside, fighting back on the rail, Kohler Practice as the field straightens away. From the outside, Spring Bouquet takes the lead, 3 parts of a length. French Kiss DJ gives way grudgingly. Most Becoming on the far outside, and Kohler Practice. Dave Miller, for all you do, this daily doubles for you. In front, Spring Bouquet. In the winner's circle is 6 Spring Bouquet, improving 3-year-old Bay filly by Overcomer out of Spring Garden. Owned in LaBerne, Kentucky by Robert Miller, trained by Mike Roth, driven by David Miller. Covering a mile in 2:02 and 3 to establish a lifetime best. Number 6 Spring Bouquet, the winner. Tonight's 4-6 David Miller daily double, $9 even. Exacta 54.40 or fight. The trifecta, $245.20. Windows are now open. Scratch number 4, Where's the Caddy? Post time in just 12 minutes. Here comes the field for tonight's third race. The Aladdin Temple Shriners here on their annual night. Number 1 is She's a Dear Lady, owned by Burkholder Enterprises with Brad Hanners. 2, Brash Sabra, owned by Kurt Loning, Justin Hall. 3, Pay Direct, owned by Robert Bryant, driven by Randy Tharps. Scratch the 4, Where's the Caddy? 5, Christie Stormcat, owned by Stanley Swango with Bob Harper in the bike. Number 6 is Tin Type, owned by Melby Ober with Jim Daly. 7, Red Romaine, owned by David Knoll with Darren Mauser. 8, Noble Divine, owned by Janet Hager, Charlotte and Billy Hager Jr. with Dan Ader. And number 9, Shannon's Mean Lady, owned by Frank Johnson with Jim Daly. And here's the 10, High Hill Beretta, owned by John Georges. Chip Noble will be in the sulky. 5 minutes till post time. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and pacing. Christie Stormcat takes the lead. Red Romaine is up on the outside, and She's a Dear Lady along the rail. They're down the backstretch. Brash Sabra gets away fourth. High Hill Beretta out of the second tier rolls to fifth. Followed by Pay Direct in sixth. Tin Type in seventh. Noble Divine is eighth, and Shannon's Mean Lady is the tailgate sitter as they drive to the quarter-mile pole, and here comes She's a Dear Lady up on the outside. The challenge for the lead in a solid 29 and 1/5. Racing past the stands to the half-mile pole. A little bit of hardball going on right now. She's a Dear Lady by a length. Here's Brash Sabra moving up on the outside of Christie Stormcat. Red Romaine will skim the pylons in fourth. High Hill Beretta, followed by Pay Direct as they make their way to the half-mile pole. Tin Type, Noble Divine, and Shannon's Mean Lady, they're at the half-mile pole. And She's a Dear Lady draws off by 2 and 58-2. Up the backstretch. She's a Dear Lady extends the advantage. Brash Sabre moves up on the outside to be a closer second. Christy Stormcat fighting back in third. Red Romaine shuffled to fourth. Here comes High Hill Beretta between horses. Pay Direct wide and driving on the far outside. After that, Noble Divine. On the extreme outside, Tin Type with the loose saddle pad in the trailer is Shannon's Mean Lady racing by 3/4 in a fast 1:27-2, moving around the far turn. She's a Dear Lady brings him on home. The only danger right now is the 10 High Hill Beretta. Brash Sabre looks to hold on for a minor share there into the stretch. She's a Dear Lady, High Hill Beretta closing with every stride, but is it good enough? She's a Dear Lady's going to hold. She's a Dear Lady, High Hill Beretta, Pay Direct, third, and 2, Brash Sabre, fourth. Here comes the winner. Number 1, She's a Dear Lady, improving 3-year-old Bay filly by Sandman Hanover out of Dear Dora. Owned in Bluffton by Burkholder Enterprise. Trained by Jeff Smith, driven by Brad Hanners. Covering the mountain 158-1. That's a lifetime best for 1. She's a Dear Lady. And she is on hand in the winner's circle to meet the illustrious potentate of the Aladdin Temple Shriners, Mr. Richard Yardley. I'd like to welcome the Shriners here tonight. Top bottom exacted 220.80 and the super 48.46.10. Next post will be 8:28. Post time is only 12 minutes away. No changes in the early pick 3. Here comes the field for tonight's 4th race. First leg of the early pick 3. Number 1, Grimkey, owned by Ruth Taylor, and the driver is Steve Carter. 2, Me and My, owned by Chuck Grubbs with Brad Hanners. 3, Carousel Rhythm, owned by George Young Jr. and Robert Young with David Miller. 4, My Quota, owned by Clarence DeLong. Dave Hawk will be aboard. 5, Carol G, owned by Jack Ader. Kyle Ader will be in the bike. 6, Abe's Delight, owned by the ACA stable with Mark Winters. Number 7, Towner's Brandy, owned by Tony Clark and Randy Tharp. St. Andrea's Pocket, owned by Gary Bobo and the Star Country stable. Art Jones will be in the sulky. 6 minutes till post time. Underway. And there they go. They're off and pacing. Towner's Brandy is going to leave tonight. Carol G, middle of the racetrack, and Grimkey along the rail. They're down the backstretch. Towner's Brandy grabs the racetrack. Grimkey moves in to be second, followed by My Quota in third. Carol G sweeps on the outside, 3 deep from fourth. Me and My moves in to be fifth, followed in sixth by Carousel Rhythm. After that, it's Abe's Delight and Andrea's Pocket. By the opening quarter here in a solid 27 4/5. Past the stands, Carol G rolls to command. Towner's Brandy lets her go without too much of a tussle second. The rail mare is next, Grimkey. After that, it's My Quota. Past the stands, Me and My underway. Carousel Rhythm, Abe's Delight, and Andrea's Pocket. Around the paddock turn to the half-mile pole. Carol G bouncing right along. Towner's Brandy, the Golden Journey in second. Grimkey third. My Quota, Me and My, Carousel Rhythm, Abe's Delight, and Andrea's Pocket. 58-4. They're out of the turn and down the backstretch. Up top, Carol G trying to make every polo anyone. Towner's Brandy skimming the rail in second, moving up on the outside. Me and My to third. Grimkey is now fourth. My Quota fifth. Sixth on the outside, Carousel Rhythm. Here comes Carol G, and Carol G continues to lead the way. Carol G on top by a length. Towner's Brandy right there in second, and 128-1 as the field moves midway on the turn. Carol G, Towner's Brandy, cocked, locked, and ready to rock, and Me and My is up on the outside as the field straightens away. Carol G brings them on home. Towner's Brandy rolls up on the outside. Carol G, Towner's Brandy, not good enough it seems. Deep stretch, Carol G. Towner's Brandy second, going to be tight for third between My Quota and Me and My. The fourth, number 5, Carol G, 4-year-old bay mare by March out of Century Gay. Owned in Clarksburg by Jack Ader, trained by Dan Ader, driven virtually wire to wire by Kyle Ader. To cover them out here in 157 and 3-5, Carol G, the unofficial winner. Result of the fourth is now official. Windows are open on the fifth. Little over $800 in the twin trifecta carry. The number 1, Impartial, owned by Wilbur Stoll Lang. David Myers drives. 2, Sid 6.7, owned by Arden Homestead Stable and Debbie Rucker. 3, CN Jordash, owned by the Hatfield Stable with Bud Hatfield. 4, DJ Wally Witt, owned by Gene McKee, Dean Collins aboard. 5, BC Mighty Mac, owned by Barbara Quillen and Mary Clemens with Dave Hawk. 6 is Crown Time Clipper, owned by Esther Crownover with Jim Daly. 7, Super High Power, owned by Mike Saylor Jr. and Darren Mauser. 8 is Self-Imposed, owned and driven by Al Gobble. Number 9, Miss Sensation, owned by Richard Elwood with Bill Long Jr. 10 is Active Jim, owned by Thomas York Jr. John and Robert Melsheimer. Dave Rankin will be in the sulky. No changes in tonight's twin tri. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off. Fan trotting. BC Mighty Mac takes the lead. Impartial along the rail. Self-Imposed is up on the far outside. Followed by CN Jordash to fourth. Out of second tier, Active Jim. DJ Wally Witt with Sid 6.7. Between horses, Crown Time Clipper. Miss Sensation is ninth along the rail. Followed by Super High Power, 10th on the outside. Pretty well spaced out here as they trot by the opening quarter in 28 and 2/5. Racing past the stands to the half-mile pole. BC Mighty Mac, the favorite tonight, leads away a length and a half. Impartial stalking second, followed by Self-Imposed to third. CN Jordash in fourth. Active Jim rides out there uncovered from fifth. DJ, Wally Witt, and Sid, 6.7, they're all underway. Around the paddock turn, Miss Sensation, Crown Time Clipper, and at the end, Super High Power. They're at the half-mile pole. BC Mighty Mac leads the way in a minute and 2/5. They're out of the turn and down the backstretch. BC Mighty Mac bouncing along a length and a half, Impartial on his heels in second. Here's Active Jim with a rush on the outside third. Followed by Self-Imposed to fourth. Here comes the 3-year-old Sid, 6.7 with a bold bid on the far outside. DJ Wally Witt, CN Jordash fighting back. Nowhere to go for Miss Sensation, 4 deep on the far outside. Crown Time Clipper ninth, and at the end, Super High Power, 129 and 3. Moving around the far turn. BC Mighty Mac, 3 parts of a length. Active Jim drives up on the outside second. The filly is along the rail, Impartial third. Between horses fourth. Self-Imposed Sid 6.7 is off stride. Racing through the stretch. BC Mighty Mac, Active Jim, and Impartial. BC Mighty Mac wire to wire. Unofficial winner of race number 5. Number 5, BC Mighty Mac. 4-year-old bay gelding by Mighty Crown out of Millie's Filly Mac. Owned by Barb McQuillan and Mary Clemens of Galena. Trained by George Conklin Jr. Driven wire to wire by the Trot King, Dave Hawk, to cover them out here in 159. Take a lifetime best 5, BC Mighty Mac, the winner. 5 and dime exacta for Woolworth, $64.60, and the trifecta, the first half of the twin tri. 7170. Windows are open on the 6th. Field of 10. No changes. Post time 9:02. Holton. Number 2, Can Do Star, owned by the Star Country Stable and driver David Miller. 3 Hour Bellevue, owned by Ralph Calvert Jr., and the driver is Don Feaster. Number 4, Fly Dragonfly, owned by Richard Bailey with Brett Miller aboard. Number 5 is Elizabeth Street, owned by Randy Haynes and Harold Breedenbach, in the bike Jack Daly. 6, Wakeshire Willow, owned by Robert Carroll Jr. and Ayers Ratliff with Dave Repine. 7 is Independence Ball, owned by Bruce Trogdon and Ali Momeni, driven by Del S. Miller. 8 is Nuclear Fantasy, owned by Merrill Elliott, driven by Brett Elliott. 9, Zippy Sabra, owned by Laverne Gales with Jeff Fout. And number 10 is Tucson Daisy, owned by Sam Coben. Jody Essig will be in the sulky. 6 minutes till post time. And there they go. They're off and pacing. Wakeshire Willow takes the lead. Fly Dragonfly between horses. Jumping off stride, Nuclear Fantasy. The 8 is on a break and a late lever with a rush on the far outside. Here comes Zippy Sabra. They're on their way to the quarter-mile pole when Wakeshire Willow's got the lead by 2. Zippy Sabra drives up on the outside. Second, Fly Dragonfly. Moves in to be third. Can Do Star fourth. After that, it's Gwen's Thunder, who moves in to be fifth as they move by the opening quarter to sharp 28 seconds flat, racing past the stands. Next in line comes Tucson Daisy, gap of 4 lengths to Our Bellevue. Elizabeth Street is next. After that, it's Independence Ball and Nuclear Fantasy. Around the paddock turn, Fly Dragonfly on the outside up to challenge the pace setter. Fly Dragonfly, Wakeshire Willow heads apart for the lead as they make their way to the half-mile pole, followed by Zippy Sabra in third. Can Do Star fourth, gap of 5, Gwen's Thunder, Our Bellevue. Tucson Daisy is in the center. After that, Elizabeth Street is 8th. Independence Ball is 9th. 10th and last, Nuclear Fantasy. In 58 and 4, they're down the back stretch. Leaders are still slugging this one out, heads apart for command. Fly Dragonfly on the outside of Wakeshire Willow. 3 deep on the far outside, the heavy favorite Can Do Star. Dropping back, Zippy Sabra far outside, Elizabeth Street and Independence Ball in a quick 1:28. Moving around the far turn, 3 horses are fanned out for the lead. Fly Dragonfly in the center. Can Do Star swinging 3 deep off cover. Wakeshire Willow is still fighting back. These 3 will contest it with about a 1/16 of a mile to pace. Fly Dragonfly, Can Do Star on the outside, trying to close in. Can Do Star, Fly Dragonfly, Can Do Star coming on. Here's the winner, number 2, Can Do Star. 3-year-old bay filly by Look Sharp out of Alessandra. Owned in Frankfurt by the Star Country Stable. Trained by Art Jones. Hard driven by David Miller. To a lifetime best of 158.2, Can Do Star. The winner, a triple tonight for David Miller. Post time in 13 minutes at 9:20. Rundown of the 6th, Gwen's Thunder 7th, Can Do Star the winner. Our Bellevue was 6th. Here comes the field for tonight's 7th race. Number 1, Crown Skipper, owned by Al Jan Enterprises, Randy Tharps drives. 2, If Only I Could, owned by Sam Coben with Jody Essig. 3, Flashmaster, owned by Dorothy Gay, Mike McNabb. 4, Fritzy Dundee, owned by Larry Roberts. Darren Mauser will be aboard. 5, Sir Bane, owned by Stephen Hettinger and Mary Priest, driven by Dave Hawk. 6, Dr. Jack, owned by Virgil Morgan Jr. and Larry Samuels with David Miller. 7 is Mark Set Go, owned by Laverne Gales with Jeff Fout. 8, Long Gone Destiny, owned by Merle Moore with Brad Hanners. 9 Icy Torch, owned by Bill Torch with Bob Harper. 10 Chellamark Wesley, owned by Steve Carter, and Ruth Taylor. Steve Carter will be in the sulky. 5 minutes till post time. Starting gate is underway. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and pacing. Flashmaster takes the lead from between horses. Fritzy Dundee driving up on the outside. If Only I Could gets away third. Late Lever on the far outside. Long Gone Destiny into fourth. Mark Set Go fifth. On the turn, Crown Skipper is racing sixth, followed by Chellamark Wesley in seventh. Surveying Dr. Jack and Longshot Icy Torch. Moving by the opening quarter in a good 28 seconds flat, racing past the stands to the half-mile pole. Up top, Darren Melzer and Fritzy Dundee command the field. Going on by Brad Hanners and Long Gone Destiny. Here's Flashmaster about ready. Ranging up on the outside, Crown Skipper, If Only I Could. Moving out from between horses, Chellamark Wesley coming on in the center. Mark Set Go. Dr. Jack got stopped just a shade as they hit the half-mile pole. Racing in ninth, Surbain, 10th on the outside, Icy Torch in 58. They're out of the turn and down the back stretch. This field is compact and jam-packed for action. Crown Skipper on the outside now gets the lead. Long Gone Destiny is in the second, followed by Chellamark Wesley in third. Dr. Jack with a rush on the far outside. They're into three quarters. Fritzy Dundee, fifth, sixth up on the outside. Mark Set Go by three quarters in a quick 127. Driving around the far turn, fighting back on the outside, Chellamark Wesley. Along the rail, Crown Skipper, Dr. Jack is now under the whip. These three guys will contest it. They're inside the final eighth of a mile. Chellamark Wesley goes on to get the lead. Chellamark Wesley by a half a length. Crown Skipper, Dr. Jack is not back yet. Deep stretch, Chellamark Wesley, Crown Skipper, and Dr. Jack will finish third. Chellamark Wesley, 10-year-old bay gelding by Fundamentalist out of Chellamark Susie, owned by Steve Carter of Londonderry and Ruth Taylor of Chillicothe. Covering them out here in 156 and 110, Chellamark Wesley, the winner of tonight's seventh race. Windows are now up and on race 8. Number 6, Born Skipping. The driver is going to be Chip Noble. Chip Noble will drive number 6, Born Skipping. Scratch the 8, Streak Blonde. Scratch the 8. 10th race, scratch number 9, Dance on Air. 10th race, scratch 9, Dance on Air. Post time 9:37. Make that 10-1 exacta, 110.80. Possession owned by Shakiri Patel. Jody Essig drives. Number 2, Noble Lens, owned by David Warnstaff with David Miller. 3, It's a Mystery to Me, owned by Henry Strong Jr. and Circle Dollar Partners with Jeff Fout. 4, Barb and Paul, owned by Richard Elwood with Bill Long Jr. Number 5, Lady Barnacle, owned by John LeGros with Brad Hanners. 6, Born Skipping, owned by John Perrin, driver change Chip Noble. 7, AJ's Big Girl, owned by Gerald Woodard with Jack Daly. Scratch the 8, Streak Blonde. 9, Grand Scooter, owned by Don Webster, Melody Aldrich, and Stephen Hettinger. Dave Hawk will be in the sulky. 6 minutes till post. There they go. They're off and pacing between horses. Barb and Paul takes the lead. Lady Barnacle is up on the outside, and the favorite Noble Lens along the rail. Late Lever, Grand Scooter on the far outside to fourth. It's a Mystery to Me moves in to be fifth on the turn. Noble Possession, gap of 5. AJ's Big Girl, Born Skipping is the trailer on the extreme outside as they move to the quarter-mile pole. From the outside, Grand Scooter goes on by to get the lead from Lady Barnacle in 28. And 3/5 racing past the stands to the half-mile pole. Grand Scooter by a length, first the flush and coming with a rush again. Here's Lady Barnacle. Lady Barnacle and Grand Scooter matching strides for the lead. After that, Barb and Paul. Noble Lynn's the favorite fourth. It's a Mystery to Me moves in to be fifth. Noble Possession after that. Born Skipping and AJ's Big Girl there at the half-mile pole. Lady Barnacle leads the way. Noble Lynn's comes from mid-pack in 58-4. Straightening out for their long journey down the backstretch. Lady Barnacle by a length. Noble Lynn's, the little filly, drives up on the outside to be a closer second. Followed by Grand Scooter in third. It's a Mystery to Me live cover to fourth. Barbin Paul saving ground after that. Born Skipping up on the outside. Noble Possession. AJ's Big Girl there side by side and stride for stride. As they race into three-quarters by a diminishing half a length, Lady Barnacle in 128-3. Around the far turn, Lady Barnacle by a neck. Right alongside in second under David Miller's whip, Noble Lynn's. Three deep off cover, it's a Mystery to Me. Off the turn, in the stretch, they're on their way home. It's a Mystery to Me on the far outside. Noble Lynn's gives way. Lady Barnacle is fighting back with a rush. Here comes Barbin Paul. Deep stretch, it's a Mystery to Me. Lady Barnacle second, Barbin Paul will finish third. It's a Mystery to Me. Owned by Henry Strong Jr. and Circle Dollar Partners of White House, Ohio. 3-year-old brown filly by Noble and Sam out of Mystery General. Winning driver is Jeff Fout. The mile here 1:58.1, a lifetime best for number 3. It's a Mystery to Me. The 3-5 exacta 46.80 in the try, 379.40. Windows are now up and on tonight's ninth race. Post time will be 13 minutes at 9:54. And tonight's equine maintenance engineer, Miss Gretchen Jones. Top down in the 8th, Noble Possession 5th, Noble Lynn's 4th. It's a Mystery to Me, the winner. Barbin Paul 3rd, Lady Barnacle 2nd, Born Skipping 7th, AJ's Big Girl 8th, Streak Blonde Scratch Grand Scooter 6th. 5-4-1, 3-2-7, 8 scratch, 6 the mile, 1:58.1. Here's a field for race 9. Number 1, Holding It Together, owned by Randy Owens and Richard Bunting with Chip Noble. 2, Thornapple Road, owned by Susan Barnwell with Mike McNabb. 3, Jack Scooter, owned by John Rogers, Frank Batchty, and Robert Gilmore with Jody Essig. 4, 2-Bit Die Job, owned by Charles Autry, David Miller aboard. 5, Buckeye Cy, owned by Roger C. and Roger Bartley Jr. with Randy Tharps. 6, Marty Mark, owned by Michael Bundy, Jim Daly. 7, Tucson Guy, owned by Gary Adams with Dave Hawk. 8, Matmospheric, owned by Robert Dye, Jeff Fout, brings him out of post 8. 6 minutes till post. Field 4 race 9 is at the gate and moving through the turn. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and pacing. 2-Bit Die Job takes the lead. Tucson Guy, Matmospheric both overcome their outside post and drive to the front. Down the backstretch, Thornapple Road Holding It Together. Followed by Jack Scooter, Buckeye Cy away safely, and Marty Mark. Pretty good clip here in the first 1/8 of a mile from the outside. Matmospheric goes on by 2-Bit Die Job to get the lead. Tucson Guy has settled in there third, moving by the quarter, a quick 27-1. Racing past the stands to the half-mile pole. Out on top, long shot, Matmospheric at 45-1. Matmospheric continues to lead the way. 2-Bit Die Job second. Tucson Guy third. Thornapple Road fourth. After that, Holding It Together, Jack Scooter. Buckeye Cy is next, and at the end, it's Marty Mark. 2-Bit Die Job goes on by as Matmospheric faces steady pressure. They're at the half in 57-2. They're out of the turn and down the backstretch. 2-Bit Die Job opens up 2 lengths. Atmospheric is second, 3 parts of a length. Two Sun Guy is up on the outside. Thornapple Road here comes holding it together. Underway, Jack Scooter from the back of the pack. Marty Mark and Buckeye Size not going to get there tonight as the field moves into 3/4. Two-Bit Die Job continues to lead the way. Two Sun Guy is up on the outside in 1:27.1. Moving around the far turn. Two-Bit Die Job by a length on the far outside, holding it together. Up on the far outside, Marty Mark and Buckeye Size going to try to make a liar out of me as the field straightens away. They're into the stretch. It's holding it together. Buckeye Size with a big bit on the far outside, and Marty Mark between horses. Marty Mark, Buckeye Size holding it together. What a move. Buckeye Size gets there. Five, Buckeye Side got there from far back. 6, Marty Mark second. 1, holding it together third, and 2, Thornapple Road fourth. Result of race 9 now official. Here comes the winner of the 9th, number 5, Buckeye Side. 6-year-old bay gelding by J.J. Citation of Equilibrium, owned by Roger C. and Roger Bartley Jr., trained by Ron Steck, driven by Randy Tharps to cover the mount 157.3. 5, Buckeye Side, the winner. 5, 6 exacta, $60 even. $60 even, and the try, 119.40. Windows are now open on race 10. Post time in 15 minutes at 10:15. Scratch number 9, Dance on Air. Scratch 9, Dance on Air. One HP's Nipper, owned by Homer Garrett, Jack Miley, Roger Hagerman, and Ralph Garrett, driven by Brad Hanners. 2, Malabir Star, owned by George Kincaid and Doug Roseberry with Dave Repine. 3, Holly Hill Limited, owned by Virgil Morgan Jr. with David Miller. 4, Nuclear Elf, owned by Dan Meyer, Dave Hawk aboard. 5, One Good Time, owned by John Tatham and Jody Essig. Number 6, Game Eddie, owned by Lisa Fuller with Frenchie Fuller. 7 is V-Mart Bob, owned by C.T. Lamb and Gary Campbell with Randy Tharps. 8, He's a Modoc, owned by Merle Moore with Darren Mauser. Scratch number 9, Dance on Air. 6 minutes till post time in their Superfecta wagering. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and pacing. The 3, Holly Hill Limited, is very rough at the start and jumps off stride. The 4, Nuclear Elf, is also off stride as they move down the back stretch, and HP's Nipper takes the lead. Followed by Malabir Star in second. V-Mart Bob is up on the outside third as this field moves to the quarter-mile pole. A gap of about 5 lengths to One Good Time. After that, it's Game Eddie. He's a Modoc. Far back to the trailers, Holly Hill Limited and Nuclear Elf, and they're sizzling in 27-4. Racing past the stands to the half-mile pole, and HP's Nipper leads the way. HP's Nipper on top from Malabir Star. V-Mart Bob settled in third. One Good Time fourth. Game Eddie after that, He's a Modoc. Nuclear Elf and still off stride, Holly Hill Limited. Around the paddock turn of the half-mile pole. Up top, bouncing right along, it's still HP's Nipper who leads the way. Malabir Star is second. They're at the half-mile pole in 57-3. They're out of the turn and down the backstretch. HP's Nipper bouncing right along. Here's V-Mart Bob with a rush on the outside. Second and challenging. Malabir Star third. One good time fourth. Game Eddie's up on the outside. He's a Moduck and begins to close. After that, the trailers are Nuclear Elf and Holly Hill Limited as a field of 8 races by 3/4 in 127. Around the far turn, V-Mart Bob gets the lead. One good time circles in the second. HP's Nipper, Malabir Star. He's a Moduck in tight quarters. Fell to his outside by Game Eddie. They're into the stretch. Randy Tharp's all over V-Mart Bob. One good time closing down the middle of the racetrack. Malabir Star is up on the far outside. V-Mart Bob, one good time second. Malabir Star third. 8, he's a Moduck in fourth. Final pick 3, 876.60. Final pick 3, 876.60. Exacta 114.60. The Super 92.28.80 in the winner's circle. V-Mart Bob, 8-year-old bay gelding by BG's Bunny out of its race time, owned by Calvin Lamb and Gary Campbell of Marion. Trained by Gary Campbell, driven by Randy. I can make them go real fast, Tharps. We cover them out here in 156 and 4, and Randy Tharps wins the last 2.